Good afternoon and welcome back to another episode of the Grimaldo Group, where we love helping families create wealth through home ownership. And today is a very special day. Not only do we have Juan Grimaldo himself with us.
Hello guys, welcome.
We do have some special guests with us today. We have Carol Hugh, Vice President of, and what's the company?
Enterprise Solution with Greater Phoenix Economic Council.
Awesome. And Serena Ramey.
Yep.
And you're part of the marketing.
Yeah, Vice President of Marketing Communications at GPAC.
Awesome. And it's a special time because we're living in a special period of Phoenix, Arizona. And we've seen the expansion and what is to come in the future.
I'm super excited because I went to, it was the area event, right, in Scottsdale. It's the Asian Real Estate Association of America. And I was super excited about all the great news that I heard from you. And I think there's great things coming to Phoenix. And there's a lot of fear out there. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're just always growing too. Actually, in that presentation we shared about thinking about, last we hit 5 million mark as a population growth.
Wow.
In another 10 years, we're going to add another additional 1 million folks just in the region. It just, our ability to grow is unstoppable.
But it's safe to say that Phoenix is on the world map.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And so the growth is there, but it's just not the growth by itself. It's the planning that is taking place. What could you provide with regard to the planning of how things are coming about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things I love being a community planner as my background that builds cities and regulations, one of the things I think we did really well as a region is planning for those transportation corridors. So you think about the evolution of way back in the day, Van Buren was that main road. And then there's no 202, there's no 303, 101.
Wow.
What is that? But now when you see that ring expansion on our freeway, that just shows a massive scale of growth that we have laid in with the infrastructure perspective.
And it's been pretty well planned out. Everything, I think the 202 was projected like 20 years ago. So all of the stuff that is coming in, I know the 303 eventually will also make another ring, correct?
Yeah.
So do you guys have an idea? I'm not going to put you on the spot here, but you might know.
Yeah, I think from the 303 perspective, those alignments are usually coming from the Arizona Department of Transportation. So they have a long-term plan that's 20, 30 years out down the road. But one of the things I actually wanted to highlight is the I-11 corridor.
Oh,
that's going to be our next interstate between Arizona, Nevada. That part is already been built in the Nevada section for a little bit of it. But we're also building the ones that's out in the West Valley. So once that connection's up, our ability to interstate commerce and the population having a better access on our transportation, that one, it's coming soon.
Now that 11 is coming from the Nogales area all the way up, or?
So it's I think in reverse, almost like Nevada and then Arizona and then it continues down south.
Okay. It goes down to Mexico. Okay. And that's going to help with easing the traffic, maybe taking it away from the city.
Yeah. So if you see where like White Tank over on the West Valley is, it's past the White Tank Mountains.
Is it the Sun Valley Parkway?
It's further that towards that direction.
Okay,
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And they have planned a smart community. At one point, I think Bill Gates owned the property and had a big dream about what that could look like as a master plan community. But now there's some newer development that's happening.
Certainly a lot in the works around it. Yeah, and you touched on it, but one of the things that I find most impressive, being not from the economic development background, but now at GPEC, is the intentional planning that's gone into our growth and development over the last decades prior that has really set us up, and not just in transportation, but the public and private sectors working together to really drive this growth and figure out what works for the now and for the future.
And I think there's one subject that many people out there have expressed concerns is water. What can you talk to us about water?
Sure. I love that question because I think there's a lot of media attention on water.
A lot of negativity towards it.
Yeah. And I think we take a pretty interesting perspective as we have a deep research team that actually look at what are the water history in Arizona. And one of the fun facts I like to say is we haven't used more water than where we were at in 1957 level.
So the population has grown and
times.
And now we're consuming less water than back in the 50s.
Yes.
Correct.
And that's with innovation?
It's actually, go ahead. I think you have the answer for that.
Oh, I was just going to say it's absolutely conservation across industries in terms of getting more efficient with water use, and also the transportation of water, just the way that we plan and store and use water.
Not only do we have reclamation of water, when I looked at how much Colorado River we're using, we see that a lot with, oh my gosh, Colorado water situation. People are getting a little antsy. Arizona only uses 36% of the Colorado River, which is much lower than many of the other states that relies on Colorado
100%.
River. So our water diversity profile is very different. We use a blend of groundwater, reclamation water, surface water, and other resources outside the Colorado River to make our community sustain and grow. So it's actually a pretty good condition we're in.
Love it. One of the things you mentioned, I believe, was Intel, how much water they use and how they recycle their water, and the water comes out even cleaner than actually goes in, which kind of blew my mind, right? They have that efficiency when it comes to reclaiming the water.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, fortunately, I was able to tour the Intel site like last Friday. And when we're touring the site, they talked about when they first built the plant, their reclamation effort was already at 80% of water reclamation. But over the years with their technology, they built their own water treatment site on site that they're over 100% in a way to provide water back to the community.
Just imagine that. That's huge.
Absolutely. Not only are they benefiting their own use of water and being able to reclaim on the site itself, they're actually sharing that technology with other community members. So that the businesses that are not using that resources can then also reclaim the water. And now they're over 100%, which is incredible, the work that they have done in the community.
Now, what can be the contributing factor? What has the state of Arizona done to attract so many businesses? This is, in essence, a high-tech hub now, the Phoenix area. What has been the most projects or the infrastructure? What has
Why
brought the
Phoenix? Why did TSMC came here? What?
Correct. That's a $46 billion investment. And they don't just say, any, meeny, miny, mo, pick the tiger by the toe. There has to be a reason as to why they picked Phoenix.
Of course, with everything, so many factors, right? And it goes back to that intentional planning. The infrastructure is huge, but workforce is also another incredible factor. We have such a high workforce participation rate here, highly educated. Obviously, Arizona State University is producing tons of qualified graduates. Stat we all know, #1 in innovation, and that's true, and that attracts people who end up working here. And
I think talking about like friendly regulations, I think about how downtown Phoenix have transformed, right? It's our ability to combine business work that's in downtown with those learning campuses, whether that's the NAA, U of A, the Biomedical Center, and most recently there was an announcement on CAMI, which is a biomedical focused development. So the physical aspect of our city's community are compounded with our massive workforce that supplying the talent to our businesses.
It's like a snowball effect. Basically, all these companies come here, they look for talent. The talent looks for those companies. It just keeps growing and growing.
And then people start talking. People start talking because I've had clients that graduated and remain here. Then they start calling their loved ones. Hey, they look at me. How am I
attractive over here?
Correct. And so you have cities such as Queen Creek. If you go back 10 years, Queen Creek is now a up-and-coming location.
Yeah.
Surprise is another area, which is up-and-coming in a very nice way.
And I think one of the things that you mentioned earlier, the infrastructure that we have is super friendly for any company to get around the city quick, right? We don't have those. There is traffic, but it's not as bad as, like, let's say LA, right? We have a pretty good flow. It might take you around an hour, 50 minutes to go from the West Valley to downtown, or East Mesa or the East Valley to downtown. I think they did a great job with.
That's actually another great point about planning and transportation is that most people's tolerance of driving anywhere is about 40 to 45 minutes. And on average for the greater Phoenix area, our drive time or commute time is 28 minutes.
Wow.
So think about the quality of life that you are passively generating by being able to go somewhere faster or access where you needed to go, whether that's grocery or business or school. So we're actually the intentional planning really made it an effort for us to be able to commute efficiently.
To have a good lifestyle, and I think that's huge. Like the cost of living is great, commutes are great. The opportunities for any entrepreneur or a student they're great. So I think we're a very sexy, I would say, city to be in. So I'm excited. And that's why I wanted to bring you guys. Like, when I heard this conversation, when you were talking to us, it brought me not that I'm not hopeful. I love this place and I see the growth, but I didn't know to what capacity. So you guys are attracting a bunch of business from all over the world. Am I right?
Absolutely. Our international business development actually have been accelerated the past couple years. You guys hear about the TSMC,
Yes.
the big projects, $46 billion there. Intel's expansion, another $20 billion, two additional fab that's coming online. But I think the history of Arizona in the way they're rooted in industries, whether that's semiconductor or aerospace, biomedical or professional services, all of that is a compounding effect. So now we're reaping the benefit of the seeds that were laid many years ago and seeing that the clustering effect of our business are really growing. So just a little teaser, just in the semiconductor space, we have over 30 more projects that's just in that space.
30.
Can't tell you what it is, but yeah.
This is insider information.
But there's some beautiful
It's quite a
companies
lot,
here.
yeah.
So I'm excited when I hear stuff like this, and talking about the infrastructure for transportation, highways, and so on. I have yet to see toll roads, and I hope that is never in the works, because that in itself makes life easier for everyone, for citizens and businesses alike. When you have no toll roads and you have these beautiful highways, it's just wow.
And one of the things, I worked in construction and we built the water treatment plants when I worked there, and everything has future plans. The highways, the underground structures, like all the piping and stuff for the sewer, they're already planned out ahead of time, which avoids delays in traffic. Like LA, I feel like every time I go there, there's construction on all the roads. I'm maybe exaggerating, but I just feel like that way, right? There's so much traffic, and then there's construction all over the place when you don't even see people working, but the barricades are there and it's just bad.
I think maybe Serena can jump in on this too. It's one of the things going back to being intentional with the effort of our growth of our community is that recently we worked on a project that identify all the mega sites. So we know that site readiness and being able to deliver the water, transportation, resources, we worked with all of our 22 cities to make sure that our valley can identify site-ready projects. So when another TSMC, another Intel, whatever that may be, come along, we already have all these mega site reviewed and worked out.
40.
So your planning is in advance. You're not waiting for things to happen. You're already envisioning the future. Is that correct? And so what can you talk about the airport? Are there any improvements happening in the future for our
I
airport?
think it was just improved, no?
Yeah, so I think, there's some enhancement happening in the Sky Harbor Airport, but one of the incredible growth story that we hear is also from the Mesa Sky Bridge.
That's right.
That area, there's a few new airlines that were just announced to add into the Mesa Airport. But as well, if you look at the geography side, the aerial photos, over the past 10 years, we see a lot of industrial development that's happening in that area. Because as logistics become more efficient and there's some benefits in actually international trade that happens in those airport sites, you just see this growth around the industrial side to see, that used to be just vacant land, but all those big project, mega project are landing around these
It's
airports.
certainly attracting.
They don't have, I think the landing over in Scottsdale is not as strong as Mesa. So that's right. So that's why they land in Mesa. So it's going to be pretty attractive to businesses instead of going up here to park in Mesa.
You got the bigger cities such as New York that they have JFK, and then they have LaGuardia. You got two airports, and then they got Newark Airport, and not too far away. Phoenix can have two airports, right?
Yeah, I think those are the major ones, but also there's Deer Valley, the Scottsdale one, there's one Glendale, and then I think it's a Goodyear or Buckeye. There's also another one over there. So when Super Bowl happened in February, I think someone actually published a map of all those private planes coming in and leaving.
It's beautiful.
Really, we're accessing all of our airport, whether that's public or for special purpose.
And I think that the city in general handled the Super Bowl very well. There were no headaches that I know of. You're going to have traffic, but I think even that was...
It was super organized. Yeah, I live in the West Valley and it was flowing pretty good. So
We love the sports entertainment development. I'm sure, Serena, you've seen like the growth of that in all across all the different communities.
I feel like we are such a great city to host these large-scale events. Proven time and time again. This wasn't our first time hosting the Super Bowl, and Glendale's done it several times, and it was incredible this year, just like Waste Management Phoenix Open, just like Fiesta Bowl. So many great events. Such a destination now internationally.
And you can't forget about the Waste Management Open.
Yes.
yes,
I think
Barrett Jackson.
Yeah. Car shows. Just, it seems like travelers, like what we said offline earlier, sometimes we discover Phoenix and the region around here, but once you see it, I think we have that staying.
I moved here back in 18, and I have been coming and going from Phoenix, so I knew what I was moving into. But I had friends and relatives, have them all over the place, primarily the East Coast. And they pondered and they said, how is it possible that you're going to go move into a desert? And I says, you don't know what kind of desert this is. I live in an oasis. I live in paradise. And they didn't believe me until they start coming and visiting. And when they come here and they said, geez, I didn't know this place was this beautiful. This is in fact paradise. And I said, go ahead, tell your friends and let them know that I can help them come over here and buy a house or 2 or 3.
And I think it's perception. You think of the desert and you think it's going to be hot year round. And that was my idea. When I was a little kid, we used to drive through here with my dad. And I'm like, why do these people live here in the middle of the desert with this heat? I would come through the summer, but I didn't know there was 8 months of beautiful weather. And then we have everything right next to us. We have the beach, we have California, we have Vegas. So within a short commute, we have everything around us.
Well, it's not like you're living in the dunes.
Right.
Because when they talk desert, they said, you're like living in the middle of sand. And it's really not like that. And I start sending videos, and like where I live, there's a lot of green landscape and trees and so on. I live in Marley Park in Surprise. If you haven't been there, I suggest you go there. Got beautiful neighborhoods. It's very nice.
And the mountain ranges, I think when you think about desert, it's like flat and sandy like you guys mentioned, but like you see once you land that plane into the valley, we're covered with mountain ranges, and within a 1 to 2 hour, right, you could go entirely to a different elevation with different vegetations.
But isn't I sit here so incredible too? Yeah, like you're saying, in summertime you get a little hot, you just go up to the mountains. Start doing a flag.
Yeah.
Like,
There's some, I didn't know there were wine tasting up here, right? You go to.
Well, you got the lakes. You got lakes,
Yeah.
Lake Pleasant. You got several lakes in the area. You can do all kinds of sports activity, hiking, kayaking, biking, you name it. And then of course, Sedona, if you like wine tasting. You go up to that area to, what is it, Cottonwood,
Yep.
that area. There's a lot of good vineyards out there. I'm a wino. And then if you really want to go to the beach, 3.5 hours south is Puerto Peñasco, also known as Rocky Point. Very quaint little Mexican town, great beaches, and just, you got a beach nearby.
Yep. What else do you guys, do you know anything about Puerto Peñasco? I know they were planning a port down there for.
Yeah, so I have heard about the cruise ship. I think it might be interesting, right? If there's so much in the California, people, usually the cruise lines come from that port. It does make sense that we could have an alternative port to be able to look at the West Coast line. So I don't have the detail on that one, but I do think it's a creative idea to tap into the leverage between Mexico and US. And really, we are in that border section that makes sense if we could, from an economic perspective, add the resource that we both have naturally, geographically, but as also a human resource and a business resource. So if we did have a port there,
That would be
I
awesome.
think that would be lovely.
Yes. And what else do you guys see coming in the next few months that is big that you guys can share? If you can't share it, that's fine. We understand.
I'll jump in, and I think we see the business are just continuing to grow. Although I can't give you specific names, GPEC's active pipeline is over 200 projects continuously.
200.
And that's not comparing to other EDOs of our size. 20, 30 project a year is a good number. But Greater Phoenix, the volume itself is how many prospective companies looking at us. I do see a more growth in the industrial space than the office space, just because there are some uncertainties. We know that industrial projects are more favorable currently. So my bet would be more industrial project coming in, but we're starting to also see more office project to pick up.
Love it. Love it.
With that is going to create an impact in the residential. All these people have to move somewhere. They're either going to rent or they're going to buy. They're not going to just, where are they going to live?
If we're seeing a shortage of both rentals and homes, so do you guys know if there's anything in the works for that?
Yeah, I think from a city perspective, where we talk to cities, many cities are supportive of being more dense in the way that communities are being created. So we recognize that there is some mismatch on in-migration, as well as the growing workforce here need housing. The Gen Zs, the millennials are coming back in the market. So we definitely need more housing product. So I think that's one of the areas that a gap that we can create,
I know you're not in real estate. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, and I think that they've looked at really innovative ways to reuse spaces, and I know developers are ready to develop as well. So I think we'll see stuff.
I saw a building, where was it? It was downtown Phoenix when we were eating at that.
The containers?
Yeah, a whole building, condominiums made out of shipping containers. It's unbelievable.
I actually took somebody who was in town for the weekend, and they saw the shipping container offices, and they've never seen anything like this. It's so cool. And things you take for granted living here, you're like, cool.
Well,
Definitely.
I saw an apartment complex out of containers in Tempe. It was a total of about 24 containers. So 12 here, and then you have the patio with the common areas in the middle. And it was awesome. I'm looking at this and I says, I wish I would have thought of this before.
So creative. Another great one we actually toured not that long ago is Cul-de-sac, Tempe. They are a carless community that's built tailored for the Tempe residents. So there's no garage, no parking, but it's just built up right around all the amenities. Every Thursday there's a little market that comes to life right outside of it. It's, I think, developer are finding creative way to attract the
There's a market for everyone.
kid.
There's going to be those that want to live in the outskirts because they want to have their horses and have their 2 acres and so on. Well, we can certainly accommodate. And then there are those that want to live in the middle of it all, like you just described. And that's perfect too.
And I think that's the beauty of our city, that we are so diverse and there's so many different lifestyles that you can live. There's Scottsdale, there's Chandler, there's Queen Creek, there's the West, there's the way Far East. There's so many. I think there's a place for everyone here. And again, what's that?
I couldn't agree more. I think we've talked about this so many times. It's you find your niche here in Greater Phoenix, then you get really dialed in, but there's so many different niches.
You want a historical home? We got that.
Yep.
You want a brand new build that's out there? We got that. You want like the different stages of life. It's interesting to see
That's true.
region just have that variety of that you have to you mentioned.
I had
Definitely.
a client of ours from the Boston area. He's going to retire. He wants to buy out here. So he flew out here and we met, drove him around. He was astonished. He says, it's unbelievable. You guys have these highways as streets because up in Boston, you're not going to have that.
It's been
then
different.
For what some folks here think that a house that's 30 years old is old, they have houses up there that are in the 1800s and you're buying them.
It's perspective. You get used to basically, like living here, we get used to all, you know what's an old house? It's from the 90s. Really? That's almost brand new of California or any other place.
Somebody from here locally saw a house in 2005 and he says, Angel, why are you showing me an old house? I said,
Just imagine.
2005.
Yeah.
But I'm from Jersey, so I know houses that were built in late 1800s, early 1900s, and that's the neighborhood. But that was astonishing to him, where he saw the streets, multi lanes going that way, and this is not a highway, this is a street.
Yeah.
And he was shocked. He says, I love what I see. So that's a good client of ours that's coming over this way.
So going back into the conversation of Phoenix, and the reason why I brought you guys, I want to talk to you guys, because there's so many great news that most people miss out because they're watching the news, which aren't real news. They could be real news, but I think they're bad news. And we want to highlight all the beautiful things that are coming because people are going to miss out. And I feel like for us, I feel like an obligation to notify the public of all the beautiful things that are out there that are coming in. All the hope, because most people are waiting for that crash. I'm like, there's not going to be a crash. There's so many businesses coming in here that the economical opportunity for everyone, because when a business opens up, everybody benefits. Just like Angel was saying, if you bring a company like the TSMC, there's going to be engineers coming in making pretty good money. There's beautiful houses up there that are $1 million and above or whatever. But then you're going to have all the people that are going to be benefiting from all the services, the landscapers, the construction workers, the nurses, the hospitals. So it just creates a whole new economy, which feeds into the rest of the economy, which is, again, it's a snowball. So that's my perspective as a realtor and as a kind of curious George, like Angel says. But I feel, from a professional standpoint, what do you guys see Phoenix for the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, I love what you're saying about the optimism in here, but also it's very true. I think when we were looking at quality of life as one of those factors, although cost of living have been a little bit higher as across the country, that when we break down the factor between transportation, grocery, healthcare services, amenities, Phoenix stands in a very good position and well positioned for additional growth 5-10 years down the road. And I don't want to miss out on the opportunities you also give the arts and culture scene a shout out. That's please. What's another foundational piece of how we're going to be able to grow continuously.
Yeah, that's been
take us there, please.
A huge part of our conversation recently is just how much arts and culture drives innovation, right? Having an environment that you're inspired by and people with creativity and perspective to converse with. And art to really to view. And that's part of the experience that makes a place special and that makes it inspiring and really drives that future innovation. And I think that even on top of that, the small businesses here and the startups that we have here, I think there's such a key factor to watch, and we've just seen that explode over the last few years. And I don't think that's going to stop at all.
I think it's going to continue to grow, especially like downtown Phoenix is becoming very artsy, which I love. We had Taco Cello,
Taco Cello, one of the best tacos in town. They're not paying.
They're not paying us.
But it was good. It was actually good.
But anyways, we were around there, and he was like, "Whoa, look at this!" Because we just go, right? We're always going, but I like to sit down and smell the roses, and my wife and I, that's one of our favorite spots. And I love sitting down and seeing the art around me. So that's growing and growing, which I love and I'm excited about. I can see the downtown change drastically. I've been selling homes since 2006. So 2008-9, I was selling properties here for $40,000 downtown. This was a ghost town. It was really sad to see. However, look at the change. Like I got goosebumps. It's so incredibly exciting to see what's coming. And again, that's why I wanted to share this, the good news from you guys, and you guys are the experts. They may not even trust us. These guys just want to sell a house, but I know we want to make sure that we show this from a different perspective, and you guys are the experts in this matter.
So, yeah, we were talking about how the contrast, you see the historical houses, and then you see these beautiful high-rises, and somehow creating a contrast, but an attractive one in a good way.
Yeah.
And then you have what is typically called graffiti, but I see it as art. Just complementing the whole area, and it just made it like, wow.
It makes it alive. It makes it feel vibrant, exciting, not boring, same old, right?
Part of that community, and it just feels like you're in it. Art is one of those things that's creative not only visually, but you get to experience it. Serena and I were at a little film screening inside a small bar, and then there's just little art shop around. Local artists are featured in their building.
Wow.
I think there's so many small businesses that also really embrace the arts and cultural scene. So many different
Funny because I've lived downtown for about 8 years now,
Wow.
and I've owned a home in the historic district
Nice.
for 6. And exactly what you were saying, you went from the quiet Thursday to booming now, and I do love the contrast, and I love how it's so walkable now.
Yes.
And people are out and about taking advantage of that.
You got the little restaurants and shops. You can leave your house or maybe the condo overlooking the valley, and you know what, I want to have a nice meal. Well, you can now pick and choose
On the street?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a great feeling where you don't have to move your car or just bike around.
I don't even have a car right now.
See, that's beautiful. And that's what I remember I talk about this all the time. So I'm like, my goal is to have a condo downtown. I don't have to drive anywhere. If I want to have a beer or a drink or a meal, let's go down the elevator, go eat, and just enjoy and walk around everywhere, which, yeah, because we drive so much and you're enjoying it. So congrats.
There's 9 months of really good weather here. Correct me if I'm wrong. But in my experience, and this is what I like telling people when they say, how is it possible that you live in the desert? I says, I live it and I enjoy it because 9 months out of the year, we have near to perfect weather.
It's always sunny.
And then when we get rain, we enjoy it.
Of course, it's something that we don't get a lot. So last year, I got to take that back. It was different. Yet most of the time, the weather's beautiful, right?
Yep.
In those 3 months of summer, go to the beach, have a pool.
But yeah, I don't know if you guys seen, it was a rainy season this season. I live near South Mountain, and the entire mountain turned green. And
It was beautiful.
Flowers, so beautiful. And then there's poppies and all these flowers. It's just like we are in the desert, but there's
Paradise.
so much biome that happens here. Oh my gosh.
Well,
Beautiful.
I've lived in the East Coast. I lived in Puerto Rico. I've been to Florida. It's beautiful out there. I'm not going to take that away from them. But I can tell you this much. It could be 80 degrees outside and the humidity is 100%. And so you could be under the shade, but it's like a sauna.
Yeah.
Whereas here, I've been in 110 degrees and the humidity level is 10%. So I could still sit underneath my covered patio, ceiling fan on, of course, but I'm not sweating. And then if I want to jump in the pool, the majority of the homes here have pools. And so you jump in the pool, you come back out, you're going to want to put your towel on because now the ceiling fan is getting chilly. I happened to my nephew was out here. Comes out, I think it was last September, the beginning of last September. So it's still a relatively 100 to 110. He's in the pool and he all of a sudden tells me, yo, Uncle Angel, what temperature is that? I said, it's 105. Why? I need a towel. I think I want to get out in the water. So he was shocked. Okay. And that starts a conversation about how beautiful it is, the life that we can enjoy here.
And I think all that sun, like, it also affects our mood, right? I used to live up north in Canada, and it's like cloudy and cold. And coming here, I think some of the things we passively benefit is that 300 plus day of sun, because we're able to really be out and really enjoy the environment. And like you said, 9 months out of the 12 is beautiful, but even in the super hot seasons, like our region is hot for not just the temperature, but for our business, our community as well. I think it's a great blend.
And I think I think after this we'll let you guys go, but when people came for the Super Bowl, a lot of people that never been here before or that don't come here when the weather's nice, they're like, oh my gosh, this is actually very nice.
Yeah.
And how it changed in the last few years. I think for all those that are worried about what's coming in Phoenix, I think there's great things coming. And I'm super excited. I'm super grateful that you guys are here with us to share those news. And
we shared a little bit of a taste of what we see in the future. Although, yeah, we as a analytical from that marketing perspective too, this region is actually, it have the right composition for us to continue to be that prosperous.
you're fertile ground.
You're in the trenches, you're in the front line of planning in what is happening in Phoenix. And this is why we wanted to spend time with you guys and let folks out there know that Phoenix is in fact paradise, and it will continue to expand in a good way. And so there's good reason to become part of this great place, this great region.
Definitely. One of the things that I heard a lot in that conference was Phoenix is in the map. Like, we are being noticed. I think we're the 5th largest city now in the U.S. And
fastest growing county as well. So we're growing. We're definitely on the map. We're a welcoming community with a lot to offer, a lot of diversity, and and with intentional planning and like a little bit we talked about earlier, I think we're in very good shape. If I could be a part of that perspective, love to share it with you guys.
Thank you. We're good. We hope to have you once again and just share those news that you couldn't share with us this time and more. If there's something exciting, I'm sure there's a lot of it. We would love to hear that and share with our public. That would be awesome.
Thank you. Any last minute words?
Thank you so much for having us. This is great.
Awesome.
No, thank you guys. Appreciate your time. We know you're busy and we appreciate it.
And we also want to thank our public, those clients and friends listening to us. We also want to thank you, and may you have a wonderful and blessed day.
Take care.